Yeah. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and dare I say others who shall remain nameless. You know who you are. You know exactly who you are. And I love each and every one of you. You sick and immoral degenerates, you. Okay. Oh, yeah. Hmm. Wow. Anywho, it's kind of dark. Not just from it being barely 6 a.m., but also because, there's no reflection of snow because all the snow melted. So we're not having a white New Year's. We had a white Christmas, but I didn't have time to get out and hit the trails. I was too busy running around visiting friends, dropping in on loved ones, and generally having a good case of the Christmas spirit. That's always a good thing to have. The Christmas spirit is always a good thing. But apparently, a lot of people don't have that, unfortunately. And so, yeah, a lot of people think of Christmas not as a celebration, but as something to bludgeon people with. They they don't greet you with Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Solstice. Instead, they snarl. They snarl. It's Merry Christmas at you. And they're obviously not having a very Merry Christmas. They're not having a very blessed Yule either. And they're certainly not having a good Saturnalia. What they're having is a persecution complex. They want you to persecute them. And so they will snarl hatefully at you in the hopes that you will respond in kind so that they can then say, "Oh, look, I've been persecuted." It's about getting persecution points. Because yes, these people they count persecution points. They try to rack up persecution points. And I've heard them quite literally say, if you criticize their bad behavior, they triumphantly say, "Oh, I got another crown. Look at me, I got another crown. I'm so persecuted. Aren't I wonderful?" Yeah. Yeah. And that's the attitude that they take. They're not happy unless they're absolutely miserable. And they're never going to be happy unless they're making you miserable because, well, yes, the persecution complex. They need to be persecuted. And if they're not being persecuted, they feel that they're not really being Christians. Now, I do want to point out that there are other people who are Christians who do say Merry Christmas. And if you say Happy Holidays, they say thank you. And Happy Holidays to you. And those Christians, they have somebody to go home to and to have drinks with at Christmas time. And if they don't have somebody to go home to, they have neighbors to visit and have drinks at Christmas time. And they're happy, just like 99% of everybody else. But it is that tiny, vanishingly tiny group of people who they don't want to have a Merry Christmas. They want you to feed their persecution fantasy. They want to pretend that they are a persecuted minority instead of the ruling majority that they are. Most of them are Americans. Most of them claim that Christianity is a minority religion, despite the fact that something like still 85% of Americans are Christians, at least nominally Christians. But they like to pretend that they're a tiny minority in their own country. And technically they are, because they are the hateful fundamentalists. as opposed to the happy devotees. And they tend to follow the gospel of Trump as opposed to the teachings of Jesus. Yes, and it's gotten better because now they actually pray to Trump. They pray to Trump. Like, these people are no longer Christians. The minute that they decided that Trump was part of their godhead, they stopped being Christians. So no, they are not Christians. So what are they? Well, I'll say it. They are sad and pathetic, and they want to be persecuted. And although they will never get their own way, they still live in a fantasy world in which they are being persecuted, ruthlessly, brutally, and violently, by every person who cheerfully says, "Happy holidays." And yes, by every pigeon that flies overhead and shits on their expensive SUV. And by every tiny inconvenience that affects everybody else as well. But in their case, it's not just life, it's persecution. Yeah. Yeah. Apparently I'm not the only one coughing this morning. There are some nasty bugs going around. Anywho, take care, be well, stay safe. Eat lots of fresh fruit if you can, because it's a good source of vitamin C, and I think you're going to need a lot of vitamin C this winter. I think we're going to get a scary, scary bug this winter. Yeah. Yeah. And apparently the Americans are getting a big orange scary bug. Yeah. Ugh. And to those of you who feel the need to snarl, "It's Merry Christmas," with all the hate you can muster in your shriveled little Grinch heart, might I suggest you crack open your Bibles and look up the Beatitudes. Blessed are those, etc. And read all of them. And then crack open the book of, I think, Matthew. And there's a lovely passage. "Whatsoever thou doest unto these mine brethren, that also thou doest unto me." And he was addressing his followers. And he was pointing at people outside of his little clique. It's made abundantly clear in the entire passage, several verses before and several verses after, that your original God, who, yeah, I know you've traded him in for Donald Trump, but still, if you're going to call yourself Christians, you have to accept Jesus, even though he was woke, and even though he was a commie, and even though he's one of those dirty lefties. Yeah. You're still going to have to accept him unless you want to change the name of your religion. So yeah, read that passage. It's in the book of Matthew. Words attributed to Jesus himself. And also, the part where he goes to the temple and kicks out the moneylenders and the rich people, and points out that a rich man has no chance to get into heaven unless he gives up his money. Yeah. And then take a good look at your giant SUV and your oversized McMansion and your big screen television, and ask yourself, am I living a Christian life? Or am I living a Trumpian life? And if you find that you're living a Trumpian life, stop calling yourself a Christian. Because you're making a bad impression on the world and giving actual Christians a bad name. You're making real Christians look bad. So please, stop calling yourself a Christian. You're a Trumpian. You worship Donald Trump. You believe he is the Messiah. You reject every teaching associated with Jesus. So yeah, stop calling yourself a Christian. You're not being persecuted. You are a privileged ruling majority. And the rest of us, atheist and Christian alike, are sick and tired of your shit. If you cannot learn how to say Merry Christmas like a normal person, and to accept Happy Holidays and Happy Kwanzaa and Blessed Yule and Happy Hanukkah as an appropriate response, because all those take place at the same time. You cannot accept that without raging. You cannot accept them without snarling hatefully, "It's Merry Christmas!" from your shriveled little Grinch heart. If you can't do that, maybe it's time to just admit that you're not a Christian. Yeah. Anywho, it's getting close to New Year's, and I need to go visit a few friends who I missed over the Christmas holidays. Yeah. You take care, be well, stay safe, love yous all. Up to and including you horrible Grinch people out there who snarl, "It's Merry Christmas!" from your shriveled little Grinch hearts. To you, I wish some kind of happiness to creep into your existence, and a little bit of light to crack into the darkness of the hatred that you live in your persecution complex. Yeah. Happy holidays. From me to you. Have fun.